Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zdrojewski. My first job is a technology teacher at Amherst Middle School, and I teach 7th and 8th grade technology. Another forthcoming job this fall will be an adjunct professor here at Canisius. I just finished my master's in educational leadership, and now I'm getting involved with the educational technologies department as a teacher. So I am among you guys here with screencasting, and I know some people are using Jing, so that was covered a few moments ago. I'll cover a lot about that today. But I want to show you the outline that I'm going to be following myself along as I go, and I'm going to show you where you can find the copy of the outline, because there's a bunch of hyperlinks that I may skim over quickly and maybe you wanted to take a little bit more look at. If you jump right over to my blog site, which is robztraining.com, you will find the very first article is today's presentation, and the link is right there. So you can click on that link, and that will take you to a Google Doc that you'll see me referring back to today, where all of my hyperlinks are located. I'm also recording today's session. Right there's my little Kodak pocket camera on the tripod, and I'm doing I got to hit record now so I don't forget. I'm going to do a screencast of this screencast presentation, basically record the entire screen the entire time, so I can add cutaways in my finished video. Where we're not seeing me on the camera there, you'll be seeing the screen of the computer here. So we kind of have two cameras going, if you will. So before I go any further and forget, I'm going ahead and hit record. And that way I have the whole thing captured. All right, so we are recording. Let's just double check that. And we go here. Yes, it's a step. OK, so I'm recording the entire screen as we go here over the next 45 minutes or so. So to the outline we shall go. And the first thing I have listed is, after the description here, is the survey. I want to know how many of you are PC or Mac or iPad users, or maybe a combination of all of them. So how many of you are primarily a PC user? OK, good majority. How many are primarily a Mac user? And how many, maybe in addition to those two, use iPads? All right, a little more than half. OK, good. I'm going to feature at first the Windows/Mac options, kind of the laptop, desktop options you would use for screencasting. And then I'll switch over to what I think is more fun, the iPad screencasting apps that are out there. And I'll be doing some wireless iPad stuff today as another experiment. So first, after that survey there, I wanted to cover a jury duty case study. A little story goes along with this one here. Let's make sure. Oh, you know what? I can play this from the desktop. It'll be a little bit quicker. The story is as follows. About 2 months ago, I contacted the Techsmith company. Techsmith makes the screencasting program you guys know as Snagit and a bunch of others. And I said, I would like to, in my middle school classroom, have my 7th and 8th graders create video projects to teach their teachers. Because in our district, we now are a Google Apps district, and a lot of the teachers are still unfamiliar with this whole Google Docs and Gmail thing and Google Sites and all that, but they know that there's something positive about it and they want to learn more. Now, since all of our professional development times are kind of tied up with Common Core and APPR and all this other stuff, it's kind of pushed all the technology stuff to the side. Well, I had the idea, what if after I teach my students how to use these digital tools, they could teach their teachers, but not do it live because it's hard to get everybody in the same room at the same time. Let's do it asynchronously through screencasting. So the kids can become teachers to the teachers. So I contacted the Techsmith company. I said, I'd like your Snagit software. And I'll tell you why I didn't go with Jing in a few minutes. But it's $29 per seat. And I need 25 copies for my computers. And I don't have the budget money, and I can't ask for $800, $900 worth of software. So what can we do here? And they said, well, we'll give you the software, complimentary, because we know that you're kind of going to do something positive with it and tell other teachers in your workshops and such. And so I said, OK, let's do it. Sounds like a good deal. So they gave me the license, installed it on all the software. Then I go home that day, or maybe a couple days later, look in the mail, and I have a grand jury duty summons. And I'm 33 years old. I've never been summoned for a jury duty my entire life. So this was the first time ever. So I knew it would probably be hard to get out of it. So I ended up going, and there was no choice. I had to do it. In Erie County, it was 3 days a week for 4 weeks. So it's the majority of the time I was going to be out of the classroom. So the Techsmith guys wrote me the email and said, hey, we're excited to feature what you're doing. I said, well, sorry, I'm going to put that on the back burner now. Something else came up. And they said, oh, what's going on? And I said, well, jury duty, I'm going to be out of my classroom. And they said, well, how are you going to teach your students? I said, oh, that's easy. I'm just going to use screencasts that I made for another project that I was going to do in June. I'll just do it now in May. They said, well, you're using our product to do that, right? I said, yeah. They said, well, that sounds like a different case study. Let's do it. So they sent somebody out, this his name was Troy. He came out for a day and he followed me around with a bunch of cameras and interviewed students and other teachers. And we even went, and the Buffalo people will recognize the scene here. It's not actually the courthouse, it's another location. We'll see who can guess where it is here. More jury duty kind of looking. And we did he put it together, a video case study for it. So this features now how a teacher can teach his students when he's not standing directly in front of them, which I thought would be good applicable here since everybody is teaching in the online sense. I'm Rob Zdrojewski. I'm a middle school technology teacher at Amherst Middle School. Right now it's approximately 8:20 in the morning, and in about a half hour the students will be coming into school like a regular routine day.
Mr. Z has been doing jury duty for the past week or so.
And he's been giving us videos through Edmodo to tell us our assignments.
Since he's been gone, we've had a lot of subs, but we still were able to watch the videos, so it's just like he was still in class.
I did it with Snagit. Snagit is a great little tool. I can record whatever's on my screen, including my webcam. So I put it in a little corner of the screen myself. So I think it gives like that human element when you can see the person talking to you and not just hear the voice.
Mr. Z's class is really cool, actually. I love it.
I like how we get to use phones and computers in Mr. Z's class.
Well, in the past, without using screencasting, I come back in the next day looking at those plans and you don't know what you're going to get. In some cases it's, we tried working on this, but we had trouble, so the kids used it as a study hall.
You can just ask questions and he replies within that day.
With a differentiated classroom with the ability to screencast, kids move on to the next step when they are ready. I'm Rob Zdrojewski. I'm a teacher, a father, and a juror. And I'm still teaching my students even though I'm out on jury duty, thanks to screencasting. And I got in trouble by my wife at the end there because I didn't say I'm a husband. I said, so that was a little risky there. But does anybody recognize the backdrop there, where that is? Yeah, Albright Knox. That's right, Albright Knox. Right. I knew everybody in Buffalo would know where that was. But we went to the Franklin Street there downtown. There were so many trees, and it was hard to get a good visual shot of where you're at. So we said, well, what else could we do to trick it? So he said, let's try that at the Albright Knox there. So that was a little video case study there that they're going to be featuring from us at Amherst Middle School about how we're using Snagit and basically the concept of screencasting for teaching. So back to our outline here. All right, so I'm going to call what I say good, better, and best. And we talk 3 products, Jing, Snagit, and Camtasia. How many people are Jing users? All right, so good majority. Now the story with Jing is, there used to, well, there still is, but there's Jing and then there's Jing Pro. Jing is the basic free version. Jing Pro is the paid version, and they were charging $15 a year, which was very reasonable for what it could do. Now, Jing Pro would record in a much higher quality format called MP4, so your voice would sound better and crisper. You could add in your webcam to your recordings, and you could upload your stuff right to YouTube. Now, Jing Pro is being retired. It's kind of, it will go away officially in February of 2013. The reason why is Techsmith is now investing their time and energy into their better product, which is Snagit. $29, not free, but a reasonably priced product. And remember, there's always a 30-day free trial for any of their products here. And Snagit will record in a better quality format. It'll allow you to use a webcam, direct upload to YouTube, and the biggest here is no 5-minute time limit. That was the big thing a lot of customers complained with. Jing is great, it's free, but it's only 5 minutes. Can we get rid of that restriction? Well, if you want to, you pay one time, $30, and now you have Snagit, and you have an unlimited time. Snagit used to be only for doing photographs and still images. Now Snagit is for video and photo. So that's kind of the marketing strategy there of what Techsmith has decided to do. They retired Jing Pro, but they made video capture available in Snagit. So I tend to stick most of my day with Snagit, using it for doing video editing, unless I need to do some longer projects where I might just, kind of like I'm doing now, let the thing record forever and then just chop out the parts that I need. That you can only do with the highest level, which is Camtasia Studio. So there's a little rundown of what I consider good, better, and best when it comes to screencasting. A lot of people get their feet wet with Jing, the free version, and then they decide, well, I want to do this and I want to do that, and that's when you take the next steps to the higher products of Snagit or Camtasia Studio. One of the great things about Camtasia Studio, they just released on the Windows side version 8, and in the Mac side it's version 2. They have some new features, kind of nice introductions with moving images and thematic music and lower third graphics, and really a way to really polish up your videos very easily. And I know for sure the Mac version, it has the green screen feature. The ability to stand in front of a green screen and film yourself, and then it will take out the green and put in whatever background you want behind yourself. So you could actually be on the, it looks like you're standing in front of a big screen TV and it's playing behind you in the background. So really neat feature that steps up the professional look of making a screencast. And you can do that with the Camtasia Studio for Mac version for sure. I believe it's coming to the Windows version next. So let's look at some examples now. I have some teacher-produced examples and some student-produced examples. Because really, when we think of making screencasts, it's not just the teacher. I was going to say adult, but you guys teach adults also. It's both ways. It's the instructor making it for the students and vice versa. And I have a couple of examples here. Now mine, because I teach middle school, are more geared towards middle school. But I did build in some of my Canisius grad school work here, which was in the 620 course. I was going right here to this one. So this is the mobile learning presentation. This was the 650 class, the principalship class. We had to create 4 of us in a group, again, working all over the country and all over the state, so I was not able to work face-to-face with my colleagues. And we had to create a PowerPoint. But then we had to present the PowerPoint. And in my interpretation of that is presenting means someone has to talk it and show bullet points and draw your attention to certain things, rather than just post an angel, here it is, take a look and leave your comments. So this way I used an app called Explain Everything, which is an iPad app. I'll demonstrate that today. And I was able to record my voice. And the arrow you can see there was my fingers moving the arrow around and pointing to certain things on the screen. Now, each slide of my PowerPoint is a separate recording. So I ended up having there's 30 slides on there. I had to do the first 7, someone else the next 7, someone else, and so on. So we split the project up that way. And since we all had iPads, we could share within the app the project. So I do my 7 slides and then send it to the next person, they do theirs, and it just accumulates all the way through. At the end, we publish it to YouTube, so then it's publicly available, like so. I'll start just a few seconds over here for you. Hello, this is Rob Zdrojewski, and my presentation is on mobile learning devices for educational use. My overall couple things, negatives I'm going to point out here, is you don't really see
cost or donate
a
cost,
presenter
and then allow parents to either lease it or
you can hear the inflection, at least in the voice, and you can see the, well, if I let it play, you would see the arrow highlighting certain things. So when I was talking about a certain bullet point, I would just move the arrow next to it. So that I think is at least better than just giving someone the slide deck and saying navigate through on your own. I'm going to show you in a couple minutes here an even better way to put yourself on the screen so that you can have that psychological feeling like someone's presenting to you because you actually see them presenting as well as hear them. So let's close that example, and you know what, let's make this bigger. And back to here. Now we might be able to do this one. This was from the 620 class. This one was made with Jing and Jing Pro, combination of both. Now we got to come back to our 100%. All right, and this was Charlotte Danielson's teacher evaluation system. So this lady I had never met in person. I just worked with her in a group, and she recorded her slides. Hello, it sounded like this.
Group 6's discussion of Charlotte Danielson's teacher evaluation system. In this first presentation, I'm going to discuss the main areas of
I'm not sure if she was wearing a headset or not, but she had the first couple of slides here. Hers are kind of the orangest ones here, and then I put these into a playlist. You can do that within Screencast.com. This is kind of the companion. Does anybody use Screencast.com? All right, this is the companion site that goes along with Jing that they let you use for free, except you do have limits of how much you can store there and how many times you can play it. You don't have those limits with YouTube, so that's always why I kind of promote that fact right off the bat. Welcome. We're going to take a look now at Charlotte Danielson's teacher evaluation process. And in this segment, we're going to look at designing the evaluation system, also known as the 3-track. Now, if you heard the I'm obsessed with audio quality, with microphones and things like that. If you heard the quality, that sounded a little bit more crisp, and that's what we would call CD quality, because that was Jing Pro, and they have that higher format, whereas the other one before was just Jing Free, and that was recorded in the SWF format. We would call that cassette tape quality. So you get different abilities with Jing versus Jing Pro, And if you jump up to the next level, which is Snagit, you get that higher quality recording. So it sounds a little bit better, sounds less grainy. I guess you could say FM radio versus CD quality. And I recorded this also with a headset, with a USB headset. I'm a big proponent of that whenever you're creating a screencast to have a USB headset. The less expensive ones, microphones have the 1/8" stereo jack, like headbutt style. Those are analog headsets, and if you use those, they'll work. But your computer has to work a little bit harder to process that spoken voice as it's being recorded, because you're sending in an analog signal to this digital device. Whereas if you spend a few bucks more and you have the USB style, that's a digital device that's now talking to a digital device. So the computer doesn't have to do as much work, and there's less chance of it skipping or cutting out on you. So 15, 20 bucks usually is a good estimate for a USB style headset. The one I like and that we use in my classroom a lot is the Microsoft LifeChat LX3000. So if you just remember Microsoft 3000, you can Google that and you can find it on Amazon for about 20 bucks or so. And that's the model that we're now using in class with the students. And it is pretty durable too, because middle school kids not always real careful with the equipment that they're using. Another demonstration here was with Jing Pro. Story behind this one is we had, I do a student survey at the beginning of each rotation just to see what kind of technology kids have at home and what's available to them. I used Google Forms for this, had everybody take it, and then the students, of course, were naturally curious. How did everybody else respond? Am I the only one that doesn't have a smartphone, or does everyone else have texting, or does everyone else have Fios at home, or dial-up internet, or whatever? So rather than show them the published results, which would show names and identities, I created a screencast, selectively showing parts of the screen that I wanted to. And to make it more humanly approached, I ended up using Jing Pro so that I could use the webcam. So here's a few seconds of that. And it is... At the beginning of each school year, I like to do a student survey just to see what kind of technology tools that the students have access to. And so this year I was a little bit surprised. Here. Here's a couple minutes into it. Cost anybody any extra money to use that phone for that kind of group activity. If they do own a smartphone, you could say I have a few students here that do, the majority of them. Now this got us a lot of good mileage with not just the students seeing this, but other teachers seeing this and parents and administrators. Because it's on my blog, anybody can see it. Just like in session 2, if you were in this room, they talked about blogs. This is a public blog, and the information I'm putting out there is not just for the kids in my class, but it's for anybody. And they can come back and see this next year and see, oh, look at how the results are different from this previous year to this upcoming year. And I might actually make that an assignment for the students to look at results from multiple years and be able to draw conclusions based on what they see. Jing is really great because, as some of you guys know, you can just throw the embed code or the link to it right inside of a blog or on a learning management system or an email or whatever. So it's easy to get the screencasts you make out to other people. I did see a lot of my professors here at Canisius record to the SWF format and then put that file on Angel. The problem is when some of us would go to play it, if you didn't have a player on your computer, you couldn't open that SWF file and you were stuck. I even suggested, I think, to a couple of, I don't think they're here, so I have to be careful what I say. I was saying, why don't you go ahead and upload that to Screencast or even throw it on YouTube, and then we can, a wider audience of people can play it. So always think about that, not just making the Screencast, but how are people going to get to it? In my opinion, it's always better to have it on a hosting service so that you can play it on an iPad or a Mac or a PC and not have to worry about formats and things if it's up there on a site like YouTube or Screencast instead of just giving someone the file itself.
What players play SWF? I've gotten stuck with things I can't find anything to open it.
Real Player, that's the Shockwave Flash. I think Real Player, some versions of it may do it. I'm not sure if the free version of Real Player, but it might be a paid version of Real Player. That's why it's such a proprietary format that you're kind of stuck with it. And that's why I think Techsmith decided to kind of go away from that and push everybody towards the MP4 format, because it's Mac and PC compatible that way too. So that is my embedded example. And by the way, the blogging service I'm using, I mentioned this in session 2, is called Posterist.com. If you're looking for a place to host your blogs or your students to host them, P-O-S-T-E-R, like poster, O-U-S.com. I like it for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons. One, it's free. Number 2, it's easy to make a blog post, because all you have to do is email it in. If you can send an email, you can blog. And I tell that to all my teacher colleagues in my building. Blogging is not some hard thing to do. If you don't know how to send an email, then you can be a blogger, because that's all I'm doing. I send an email to post@posterist.com, and it recognizes who's sending it. It's me from my email address, so it automatically puts it right up on my blog for me. You could even open up your blog to let anybody put stuff on your blog. Just tell them, email it to this address, and then you can moderate it as it's coming in. You can say yes or no as stuff's coming in. I do that with my students. So getting stuff on there is easy. And the third thing is the auto posting. Because my site is linked up with a bunch of other services that I use, such as, get back to the top, such as Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, I think that's Google Buzz, and YouTube. That means I make one email and it automatically sends out links to all those other places. So when I put up 2 days ago my link to this event today, it instantly went out, it tweeted it out, it put it on my Facebook account, put it on my LinkedIn and Google Buzz. It just put it in all those places without any work by me having to do that. I don't have to go out and do the work. I let the computer do the work for me. So that's called auto posting. And there may be other services out there. Tumblr might be one of them. I've heard of that. I've never used it, but I think that does a similar thing. Did anybody verify that? Is Tumblr, any Tumblr users? No? But I've been using this one for about 3 years now, Posterist.com. They have been acquired by Twitter like about 3, 4, 5 months ago. So I'm not sure what that means for the future of this. Right now everything is still status quo, but I would still recommend it for blogging. If you're looking for a free platform that does a lot of automatic things, Posterist is a good example of that. And so back to the outline. How many of you have ever provided or received tech support through email? Okay. That means you have to be able to read the step 1, step 2, step 3 and understand what they're saying and then actually do it. In theory, it sounds like, sure, as long as the instructions are written clear enough, anybody should be able to do it. But as we all know, things get tricky or get muddy and you're not sure, where do I go next, or did I click on the right button? Screencasting is, I probably don't even need to tell this group here, is a great way to do that. And in this example here, this was for a 5th grade teacher, and he works at one of the elementary schools, and he said to me, I want to have my students do some more stuff with Edmodo like you're doing with your middle school students. So how do I put a video in Edmodo for them to see? And in my head I knew, well, if I was sitting next to him right now, I could just easily show him. But having to write this out, step 1, go here, step 2, go here, was just way too much. I find it's easier to talk than it is to type. So I just literally grabbed the headphones, and the webcam's sitting right on top. I just made him a video in probably 3 minutes that would have taken me probably 10 to try to type it all out. And then even if he did receive that typed out message, who knows if he could follow the instructions that I would have laid out there. So I think it's, and this applies too in the online setting, maybe you want to show something to a student about a paper they wrote, you can actually just highlight over it, which some of my professors have done from my program that I took. So this is just a quick little example of that. Put myself in the corner using the webcam. Now in this step, I'm going to show you how to upload your video right to the website, right to Edmodo. So here's the goal. I'm going to show you the end here. It's going to look something like this when you're all done, so that you can watch your video right on the Edmodo homepage. So here's the magic behind making that happen. Going to go right up to the Launch Apps button. Then we're going to go to the Schooltube app. Now pause it there. Imagine if I just did that much in a text format. Be like, wait a minute, what button was that? Where did he say to go? Was that on the right side, the left side? This way, there's no confusion. It's, at least in my opinion. You can show it and speak it, and someone can see exactly the steps that are involved. And then when another teacher asks, how do I do it? John, the 5th grade teacher, he forwarded it on to another teacher in a different elementary school because they wanted to start doing it as well. So then the knowledge just grows, and it's not taking anyone's time out of their day to re-record a video or have that phone call or that email and type out the instructions. You just say, here's the link. Check this out. If this doesn't work, then let me know, and we'll work through it after that. So very, very good kind of peer-to-peer kind of teaching can be done through screencasting. Now on to some student-produced examples. I like to highlight the best of the best screencasts made by students. And this is Maura. She was an 8th grader. And the project that we do, it's about a 4-week project. We call it the Ultimate Bedroom Design Project. And they have $40,000 for an imaginary budget. And if they had that money, how would they design an ultimate bedroom? It starts out with square footage of construction. We say in Western New York, construction costs are $125 per square foot. Minimum size is 12 by 12 for a bedroom. So they figure out, okay, well, if I make it really big, I use up all my money, and I have no money to put in the bed, the hot tub, the vending machine, the snow cone maker, or whatever they want to go with. But yet, if they make it too small, they have lots of money to buy those goodies, but they have nowhere to put them because there's not enough room for it. So there's some calculations that are involved there with spreadsheets and Google Forms for surveys and drawing things and Evernote. Anybody use Evernote? A couple Evernote users. They use Evernote to tag things on the web that they want to put in that bedroom, so they make kind of a digital notebook. And this is completely a paperless project. To capture all of that and then do a show and tell at the end would be very difficult if I had all 100-some students stand in front of the class and present that. So now this is my chance to have them learn how to be a teacher and do a screencast, kind of a digital show and tell of all of the different things that they did. They can add in their own inflections. You can hear some of them are humorous, some of them are not. But this is a great way to summarize all the learning that took place over a long period of time. Translate this now to the higher ed examples and think about at the end of midpoint or the end of a semester, same kind of idea. If a lot of the work they did was online, even if it's just discussion forum replies, they can go in and highlight what they think is important and then show that to the rest of the group. And then the rest of the group can come in and comment on those too. So here's a couple seconds of this one from Maura.
This is Maura Tom, and we're going to look at my makeover design project. This is my survey that I made, which is really cool because you get to make your own questions, and you can do multiple choice, long answer, short answer, check boxes, what you liked, scales, drop down questions, and little chart questions.
And then she goes on to showing survey results.
One, which are the most expensive, not a lot.
And then the Evernote
right in here
notebook.
from lamps to the posters to a Coca-Cola fridge. Now
And then
information
they show
and you're
more
back to
shopping stuff, and then the spreadsheet
having the quantity
of how the budget worked out.
It would add $1,000. And
so this way, all that knowledge, all that experience is all summarized in a 4-minute screencast that then we share out on our learning management system, and the other kids have to go through and comment what was good, what was negative about it, and the learning becomes public. So the things that I'm doing in class, I tell them, your audience is really not necessarily your classmates, but it's people that have not been in this class. So when you're talking about Evernote Notebook, don't act like we all know what that means. Tell us, what is Evernote? Why is this a better tool than doing it on paper or using 3-ring binders in the what I call the 3-ring binder world we no longer live in? So great way for students, whether they be middle school, high school, higher ed, you name it, to summarize their learning in a visual format. Let's see, iPod app reviews. Now combining a webcam, or in our case we had what's called an Ipivo. Anybody familiar with this little Ipivo document camera? It's $69, $79 as compared to $800 for a full Elmo style unit that looks like an overhead projector style. These things are so very small I can usually carry it in my pocket whenever I present like this. Plug it into the USB port and now you have an instant live document camera. And we use that in combination with screencasting to record the screens of our iPod Touches, and we had the kids make kind of app reviews, educational app reviews. So here's an example. It's going to take a few seconds to buffer here because it's a little bit.
Hey, this is Allie,
Katie, and Nicole.
We are going to review the Word Magic app. It teaches little kids how to spell words by asking them a word and having them fill in the missing letter. We bought it from the iTunes App Store. It costs 99 cents.
The benefits of this app is that it helps little kids learn how to spell.
So before they even could touch the camera, they had to present to me in Google Doc format an outline that they all contributed to that shows clearly what kind of highlights they want to mention. Once they approve that, then they get the Ipivo webcam, plug it into the Windows computer that we have in our classroom, and they record a screencast like this. Then taking it one step further, and I made this optional, but maybe I'll make this mandatory, contact the app developer and show them what you made. And some of them actually got feedback from the app developers that said, this is so good, I want to feature this on our official blog. Can we do that? And the kids were thrilled that this is real-life learning. Their stuff they made was not just for Mr. Z's class, but it was for the world to see. And maybe even to help them make the app better. Because a lot of the kids want to include in here what they thought was not so good about the apps, and then parts that were really, really good, which other app developers then say, ooh, people like that feature, and then they put it in theirs. So really the learning and the knowledge all spreads very quickly by making screencasts and making them available to the public. Because I teach in the K-12 setting, we have a policy where we never identify a student by first name and last name and visual where we can see them. So that they can say their first and last name here because we're not seeing them. But if we were to see them, they might just say, this is John and this is Sally. So they would just say their first names there. That's probably a concern you guys don't have to worry about as much at the higher ed level because they're over the age of 18. At least I would think they are. And then the beta testers for that, I mentioned earlier, the jury duty project, the Teach the Teachers project. Well, Ben and Abby were very good students. They finished their work way ahead of time, so I always get those students in class and I ask them to beta test stuff, ideas that I have for future projects. And I explained to them I want to do a Teaching the Teachers project where you guys teach them Google Docs, so they came up with this format where they could just share this out with a teacher, and then in a non-intimidating fashion, the teacher could learn how to create a document, spreadsheet, form, drawing, and etc. So let's look at how to make a drawing here. And this one is, I think Abby introduces this one. And they used Jing Free, the free version. And it looks something like this.
Hi, my name is Abby DeSico, and I'm going to show you how to make a floor plan. First, you go to Create, then you go to Drawing. Now you end up with this blank thing. So you want to right-click.
So that's what it looks like when a middle school student creates a screencast. And I need to move a little bit quicker because is it 2:05 that I have till?
I think 20.
Oh, good. It's 20 after? Is it? I think I'm running shorter on time than I thought I had. I'm going to switch over to the, just to talk about some of our iPad options. All right, now what I'm going to do here is go rogue here and jump off the Canisius network and go onto my own little network. What I had to do, I tried this earlier, it usually doesn't work. I have a little $30 hotspot, mobile hotspot, and I plugged it in and it's configured to run off my devices. However, I do not have internet when I'm connected to this. So the things I'm going to show you here is going to make it so that I can walk around the room, this is pretty cool, with the iPad and not be tethered to the podium. So to do this, I'm going to jump on that network. And this one I'm going to jump onto that network and go. There we go. All right, so the cool thing about this now is anything that I can see up here on my iPad as I'm using it, you guys can see up there on the big screen. So I can demonstrate some of the things this way. Just no internet, that's the one caveat. All right, so in my screencasting folder, I have a couple different ones I recommend. ScreenChomp is free, EduCreations is free, and Show Me is free. They're basic whiteboarding apps. Explain Everything is $3.99, $4, maybe $2, $3, $4. Is it? It's on sale. Okay, so it's on sale, so it's a little bit less. Okay. Now I started with the free ones until I started realizing, you know what, I want to do more with this. I want to pull my screencasts into iMovie and do more stuff, and to do that, you have to have the paid version, because this is the only one that lets you save your creations out to your camera roll. The rest of them are proprietary. They stay within their own system.
What's the name of that second one there?
EduCreations, that's the one I wanted to show you right now. EDU Creations. And an example here, let's go to, now this one is a little bit better than the other two, in my opinion, because this incorporates in your class roster, and you can have quizzes at the end where students can take it to get proof that they actually watched what you made. So I'm going to go to New Lesson, and pretending that I am a science teacher, which I am not, I'm going to do a lesson on, I'm going to pull in a photo here that I grabbed earlier of the heart. And we'll talk about the chambers of the heart. Let's say I want to fit height, so it's a little bit bigger. All right, now I'm going to hit the record button in the upper right-hand corner. Hi, this is Mr. Z, and today we're going to talk about the heart. Where does the oxygen-rich blood flow into? Well, it happens to be, and I'm making this up, the left atrium over here. And I can move this around if need be and zoom in even, too. And I can clear ink, too. And so I can draw things here and highlight things and draw on top of it, and it will keep all of my movements in sync. Pause. All right, so everything I just did there for the past 24 seconds was recorded. Now I'm going to hit the next page, which is at the bottom, I believe. Yep, so I'm on a new page. All right, and continuing on now, I'll do a math example. 2 over 4 times 1 over 2. How would we solve that? Well, the first thing we would do, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so pretend I did that, and I'm going to stop it. So just in the interest of time, I'll stop here. But you can see I can keep going. I can add additional slides that way. I can pull in images from camera, photos, Dropbox, or the web. If I was connected, I could just search for heart, and it would come up with that image you saw there. And there's even a text tool, too. So if you don't have really good handwriting like me, you can use the text tool like so. And then you can move that text around. I don't know if you can resize it. I guess you can just move it around there. And so let's say I'm all done with that. Save lesson. Give it a name. Blah, 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 blah. Choose who can view it. So this has abilities now to limit the audience if need be. And then you save it. And if I was connected to Wi-Fi, I would upload it right now to the EduCreation server. And my students would, I believe, get an email alert that Mr. Z put something new into our class, and you could watch it that way. So if I come back to it just so you could see it and play it here. Mr. Z, and today we're going to talk about the audio. Where does the oxygen-rich blood flow into? And the movement is all recorded, the zooming in and out. Over here. Did I do that? And I can move this around if need be and zoom in even, too. So that becomes a recordable whiteboard screencast.
Ironically, on the EduCause listserv today, somebody posted apps looking for who knows some great apps for just this. And
Okay.
all those you had were ones people are recommending, and that's
Oh, really?
outside faculty. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Very good.
And you could use it on the web too without having it.
Yes, Educreate, that's another one of their advantages. You don't have to have an iPad. You can interact with that content on a web browser. And if you have an interactive whiteboard in your classroom, instead of this, you could draw with your finger on that, and it would record that as well. So that one, Educreations, had more features than Show Me or ScreenChomp, the other ones that are also free. So even though they're free, there's still some advantages there. This is just an example I did with my daughter. I took a picture of the paper she was writing on, because she's going to be a first grader. And I said, well, let's have you draw on here and you know, erase it and do a little screencast like that. So we did a little example there with that. So that's what that is there. So you can take a picture using these built-in cameras too, and pull stuff from the web, pull stuff from the camera, and do screencasts like that. And in our Ed Tech program with Marie here, I was thinking that would be something we do for the students to introduce themselves. Use an app such as this, assuming they have an iPad, and create a screencast about yourself. Pull in maybe some photographs and talk about them, and you can draw things and take us to websites. Because actually, Explain Everything has ability to pull up a live web browser, and you can be recording that. So if you want to demonstrate things off of a web page, you can use Explain Everything and do that. So I wish I had more time to show you, but there's so many more things you can do here. Exporting options with Explain Everything, places you can put things, ways to export to. You can export things as images or as PDFs or as video. So a lot more ins and outs with the Explain Everything app, but it has a steeper learning curve because there are so many more features. All right, I do have prize giveaways here before everybody leaves that I want to make sure I cover.